Capricorn, welcome to your astrology reading for the month of December. So before I jump into the energy of the month, because as usual, we have a lot going on here, this is going to be most applicable for your rising sign, also known as your ascendant. This is how other people perceive you, especially when they first meet you. It is still applicable for your sun sign, which is how you express yourself, and then also your moon sign, which is how you process everything internally through your emotional lens. This month, we have a lot of planetary shifts taking place, in the sense that we have 3 planets that are actually stationing direct. So they've been retrograde. I love to see them going back into their forward momentum again. And then we also have Mars stationed retrograde here. So we'll talk about each one as it comes up throughout the reading. But jumping right into December. So in my time zone, this happens on December 1st at 1:21 in the morning Eastern time. I am in Eastern time in the United States. I'm on the Eastern Seaboard. So if you're in a different time zone, this could impact you on November 30th. But this is a new moon in the sign of Sagittarius. And because this is in Sagittarius and you are Capricorn, this is impacting you internally. It's impacting you as far as maybe your subconscious. This would be you kind of hidden off from the rest of the world. So there might be things that you want to grow and expand about yourself because that's Sagittarius energy. But this is a lot of you kind of taking that step back away from other people, not so worried about their opinions or anything else. It's more about getting down to the truth of what you want for yourself and what are you trying to grow and expand within you. That's how this new moon is going to impact you, because it is hitting that 12th house. And what this is doing, this is actually a really positive new moon. So there's going to be a trine to Mars and Leo. So Mars being the planet of action, Leo, another fire sign. And in fact, Mars is the ruler of Aries. So there's a lot of fire going on during this new moon energy. And where Mars and Leo sits for you is in your 8th house. This is where it's transiting. And so this 8th house is a house of death and rebirth. So if you think of it that way, when you're trying to figure out what you want to grow and expand within yourself, it's like, okay, well, what do I need to release? What action do I need to take right now in order to let something go so I can make room for more of what I want here? What can I kind of build upon from that foundation standpoint, and then what doesn't belong anymore? So I really like it from that perspective. It will also trine Chiron retrograde in Aries. And so there's some sort of maybe an ancestral wound, like a generational type of wound, might be something connected to your home or your home environment. There's this wound that's been coming to the surface. This new moon is really going to help you figure out what you need to do in order to, I want to say, wipe the slate clean. That's the phrase that I'm getting, but it's more about how do you process it, how do you move on from it, and kind of heal that wound that's been coming to the surface. This new moon energy will make it more difficult for you to really work on a specific type of communication here, because we've got this new moon square Saturn in Pisces. Saturn is about you doing any kind of work. It's sitting in your 3rd house of communication, but it's more of that external communication. What do I need to do? How do I need to communicate myself in a more effective way here? Because you have the sun and moon transiting your 12th house, that inner you, that's where the focus is. It's on you on the inside. It's not about what you're communicating on the outside. And this is where the difficulty comes into play. Now, if you are like me, I'm a Capricorn rising and I speak for a living. And so I do have to find a way to work with this energy, because this is on a Sunday for me and I'm going to be working Monday. And so I'm going to have to figure out, how do I work through and communicate in a way that is effective, that people actually understand what I'm trying to say out loud. And so you can find a way to work with it. It's just going to require more effort. And then during this new moon, it will be opposite Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. And so when it comes to any kind of growth and expansion that you're looking for in your daily life, what you're doing on the inside is making it more difficult for you to take action outside of your person. And so this is where you're seeing a lot of this conflict and these kind of oppositions come into play. Again, you can find the balance between the two, and it's maybe about prioritizing one and then kind of shifting your focus to the other, and kind of that back and forth energy, or you can just wait until there's an easier time to work with the energy. But it's certainly within the realm of possibility if that's what you want to do. And then we have Mars station retrograde in the sign of Leo on the 6th at 6:33 p.m. Eastern time. And so Mars, Again, planet of action. This is the god of war. This is let's go. What are we waiting for? If there's something here that's not working, let's get rid of it. It is sitting in that 8th house for you. But instead of taking any kind of external action, okay, this isn't working for me anymore. Like I'm going to make it up, a job isn't working for me anymore. I need to take an action in order to change my employment. I'm going to apply to other places. I'm going to interview at other places. That's an action that you would be taking here. But instead of taking something external, any kind of action external, it's now going to be directed inward. What do you need to change in order to go after exactly what you want? Because when Mars stations retrograde, there is a trine to both the Sun in Sagittarius and Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. So when you think about your inner you, what do you want to grow and what do you want to expand here? This Mars retrograde is going to help you figure out what internal shifts do you need to make in order for this to come to fruition. If you really want to grow and expand something, and this could be something spiritual as well. So whatever is happening here, it's giving you an opportunity to take some action on the inside, and this is going to be a really easy flow of energy. This is not going to require any extra effort on your part. Mars retrograde in Leo will also trine Neptune retrograde in Pisces, and just because we're talking a lot about communication with that Sun in Sagittarius, the way that you're kind of thinking about your expansion, Mercury, planet of communication, there's also a trine to your house of communication here. So when you're trying to think about how do I want people to perceive me, how do I want to communicate effectively, there is a lot of this Mars retrograde in Leo that's giving you and aiding you in that area of your life. And so it's not just about what you want to grow and expand within you, but then eventually you're going to want to put that more outward. And so it's going to help you in that respect too. It's like, let me take some internal action so that I can shift my focus in the way that I'm approaching things so that I can get better results on the other side of it. There will be an opposition to Venus in Capricorn when Mars stations retrograde. Venus in Capricorn, it is sitting in your 1st house. So when you think about what you love, but this is your physical body. And so what do you love about yourself physically, or maybe enjoy doing in that respect, because Venus is focused on what you love and what you value here. Any kind of internal action that you're taking to change something on the inside is going to have an impact here. And so there is this opposition. It's like, well, if I love these things about myself, those aren't things that you want to change, but you are making internal changes here. And so this is where that push-pull energy is coming into play. You can certainly work with the energy and just find a way to kind of navigate it. There's also an opposition to Pluto in Aquarius. And so Pluto just moved into Aquarius. This is impacting your personal finances. This would be the money that you have, investments that you have, anything that you own that's of value would be in this house. And it's opposite Mars retrograde in Leo. So part of this action that you're taking, any kind of transformation that's taking place, might have an impact on the money that you earn as well, because that Mars retrograde in Leo might have you taking different action that kind of helps you from a financial perspective. The 8th house energy as it relates to money is the debt that you pay. It's the money that you earn from an employer. Pluto in Aquarius, this is the money that you already have. What kind of changes are you implementing in that area? And so how does these two kind of play into each other? It's an opposition energy. This one, you can find that happy medium. It does require more effort because that is an opposition, but there might be things that you're doing, actions that you're taking that really kind of impact you on a financial level too. And then we have Venus enter the sign of Aquarius. So that's going to happen on the 7th at 1:14 in the morning Eastern time. And because Venus is now entering into Aquarius, we just had Pluto enter into Aquarius, these two are in a close conversation. And so when it comes to your finances, your personal finances, what do you value? What do you love? What do you want to bring together? Because Venus wants to bring things together. So do you have an idea or a series of ideas that you want to implement as it relates to your personal finances? Pluto is saying, okay, great. What do we need to get rid of? Let's liberate ourselves from any restrictions or barriers to going after that. Venus is like, great, as you're doing that, let's bring other things together. Let's focus on what we value and what we want. So I really love the way that this is impacting you in your chart, because Venus is one of the benefic planets out there. So impacting your personal finances, especially when it comes to any kind of transformation, really positive. Venus in Aquarius is opposite Mars retrograde in Leo. And so when it comes to what you love and value about your finances here, it's going to be opposite any kind of action that you're taking. And so that 8th house is a transformation house. But again, this is also the house that relates to other people's money. So think of inheritance or debt or the money that you earn from an employer. And so there's a push-pull that's happening here. One is based on how do I kind of hold on to what I value or maybe do something with what I value already and love versus I need to take some sort of action here. So this is where the opposition is kind of coming into play. We also have Venus trine Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And so Uranus retrograde is another one of those transformational planets. So when you think about what you love and what you value here, it's going to help you make any changes. These would also be internal changes as it relates to your passion projects, hobbies, children, if that's what you're going after, really anything that you do outside of work that's fun. So this would also include short-term relationships. And so easy blend of energy. When you're really focused on what you love and value, it makes other areas of your life kind of receive some sort of positive impact from this, because I like the way that this is playing out for you. Oh, I guess, and me too. And we do have Venus sextile Neptune retrograde in Pisces. So when it comes to your just understanding of the entire situation, maybe the way that you want to communicate with other people, when you hold on to what you value and you really focus on the positive things, it really does help clarify a lot of maybe doubts that you had, confusion surrounding the way that people understand you or the way that you communicate in general, because Neptune is currently retrograde, but it's about to turn direct. And so this one is really significant here because Neptune does station direct the same day that Venus enters into Aquarius. And so let me just pause for a second and talk about that. When Neptune is direct, it's all about let's go after our dreams, and here are our dreams, and they're kind of like way up there in the atmosphere, not necessarily grounded in reality. It's kind of like how high is high when it comes to the dreams that you're going after. But when Neptune stationed retrograde, it was a lot of clearing out the fog, figuring out what was real, what wasn't, what's practical, what isn't, and then gaining the clarity that you need in order to really pursue your dreams. And so we've been dealing with that while Neptune was retrograde. Now it's stationing direct. So it's not like you forget all those lessons, you bring them along with you. And so when Neptune stations direct in Pisces, also on the 7th at 6:43 p.m. Eastern Time, for you, this is all about your communication. So this is that kind of direct communication with other people, but in a way that really resonates with what they need to hear, or your message is coming across in a way that is more clear because you're more clear in what it exactly you're trying to accomplish when it comes to communication. This Neptune stationing direct will sextile Venus in Aquarius. And so if you're looking to have conversations as it relates to what you value or maybe your personal finances here, it's giving you an opportunity to have those conversations. It's also giving you an opportunity to make changes to that financial structure that you're putting into place, or maybe letting go of something here that like an old belief system as it relates to money that just doesn't work anymore. Because that communication can also be about you processing the information too. It doesn't necessarily have to be the word spoken. It can be the way that you're interpreting everything as well. Neptune will trine Mars retrograde in Leo. And so again, anything that you're thinking about from a communication standpoint, you have these ideas on how you want people to perceive you and your understanding of the situation, that's easily going to blend with whatever action that you're taking in this Leo energy, which could be a transformation, letting go of something to make room for something else. It could be connected to the money that you earn or the money that you receive from like some sort of outside source. Could be connected to debt that you're paying too. So I like the way that this is all kind of coming together, especially if you're having conversations around money and changes that you know you need to make in order to maybe earn more money or something along those lines, because this is like a pretty positive time for that one. And then Neptune will sextile Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And so when it comes to your passions, hobbies, things like that, or maybe even children here, when Neptune stations direct, it's giving you an opportunity to allow more change to come into play. And so more beneficial. There's a lot of change and transformation that's taking place here, but it's a lot of releasing just old paradigms and things that just don't work anymore and making room for something much better to come in. And then the same day, or no, it's not the same day. We have so many that are happening the same day. So we had Venus in our Aquarius. We have Neptune stationed direct in Pisces. Those are the same day. I'm getting mixed up because then we have the full moon in Gemini and we have the Mercury stationing direct. Those happen on the same day as well. So let's get into the full moon. That one happens first. So that's on the 15th at 4:02 in the morning Eastern time. And so when this happens, you've got the sun and you've got the moon. They're at opposite points in the sky. Sun in Sagittarius, let's really be optimistic in the way that we're expressing ourselves. Charismatic, kind of high level, big picture type of conversations might be had during this time. And then you've got the moon in Gemini, and the moon in Gemini is like, how do I feel about all of this? It could be a lot of thinking how you feel. It's not just necessarily how you feel. Gemini is definitely a thinker. It's also getting into the details where Sagittarius is high picture. So it creates this push-pull. The way that this is impacting you is that the sun is transiting your 12th house. So that spiritual house, that you away from the public. And so when you think about what you want to grow and expand internally or spiritually from that perspective, it's going to be opposite how you feel about your daily life. And it's more of, okay, well, my daily life exists, but I'm trying to grow and expand something else. And so that's where the push-pull is coming into play, because that moon in Gemini says, I'm happy with where I'm at. I don't need to make any changes, but internally you're making changes. And so that's where the friction's coming into play. But it's not just the moon that is in the sign of Gemini right now. We actually have Jupiter retrograde in the sign of Gemini. And so Jupiter retrograde is all about growth and expansion, but again, inner growth and expansion. So in your daily life, you might be trying to make changes kind of to the world around you, because it is your daily life. These are the things that you do on a regular basis. But the sun in Sagittarius is your inner self. And so there's a different type of opposition happening here, where there's an inner you and then there's the world around you. And so that's where the push-pull is coming in. It's like you can only be focused on one or the other at a time. Is it your inner self? Is it the external daily life that you're living? And so that's where that push-pull comes into play. And because the sun is opposite that Gemini energy, you've got the moon and you've got Jupiter retrograde. They're in a conjunction with each other, which means an easy blend of energy. How you feel about your daily life, what you're trying to grow and expand within your daily life. This all feels really good. Exactly the direction that you want to go in that area. So those two kind of pretty harmonious. During this full moon, the sun and the moon will actually form a T-square to Neptune and Pisces. So you actually might find it more difficult to communicate exactly what it is that you're thinking, or communicate in a way that really resonates with other people. And so the sun, when you're thinking about yourself and your inner self and when you're trying to grow and expand here, it's going to make it more difficult for you to communicate in the way that you want to communicate with other people, because it's more of, I'm focused right now on this kind of inner growth and transformation. Same thing with the moon energy. What you love about your daily life and things that might be happening in your daily life might make it more difficult. It'll make it more challenging to really communicate in a way that is kind of aligns with the way you want to be perceived, the type of communication you have, or just how clear you want to speak. And so you can certainly work with the energy. It's just a square. You have to find a way to work through it. And then we have the sun and the moon actually in a positive aspect to that wound that's been coming up. So that ancestral wound or a wound connected to your home environment. The sun will trine this energy, which means all that kind of inner growth and expansion that you want to go after here easily blends with healing that wound. How you feel about your daily life creates an opportunity for even more healing to take place as it relates to that wound, because Chiron stationing retrograde right now, because it is retrograde, this is giving you an opportunity to get clear on maybe what triggered this wound, how do you address it, because it feels like it's a pretty deep one here, especially if it's an ancestral wound. So there's something here that does need to be addressed. And this energy is really going to help you figure out, well, how do I overcome this? Something connected to the changes happening within me because I want to grow and expand. Or it's something connected to my home or my daily life. That's going to help me figure out how to heal this wound connected to that fourth house. Then the same day as the full moon, we have Mercury stationed direct. So that's stationing direct in the sign of Sagittarius on the 15th at 3:56 in the afternoon Eastern time. We're going to be with the post shadow until January 2nd. So that retrograde energy where there's a lot of internal reflection, a lot of internal communication, that's going to dissipate. So when we get to the 2nd, we'll see that we're pretty much just full steam ahead at this point. You're going to be done with that energy. We'll be done with that last kind of trickle of the retrograde energy. And so for you, Mercury is in your 12th house. So just like the sun, this is a lot of internal growth and expansion that's been taking place. But even with Mercury stationing direct, it's still sitting in this house connected to you spiritually, you away from the public. Maybe there's something connected to secrets. There might be something that you're expressing, like an innermost part of you that you do want to express, because you have been doing a lot of internal reflection when Mercury was retrograde. And so you might find yourself in a situation really expressing kind of that inner you and what you've learned about yourself, or maybe deep down, these are your desires here. It's going to, this, if I could get the words out, Mercury will sextile Venus and Aquarius. And so when you're thinking about what it is that you want to communicate to other people, kind of this inner you that you might want to express, it's creating an opportunity for you to really focus on what you value. It might be conversations around money as well. So I like how that plays out. It's an opportunity that you're going to have to seize, but it's right there in front of you. And then we have Mercury trine Mars retrograde in Leo. And so anything that you're communicating outward, because you've learned a lot when Mercury was retrograde about your innermost self, it's not creating an opportunity. This one's actually going to be a really easy flow of energy. You're expressing yourself in a way that allows you to make some more internal changes to yourself. So the internal reflection that was taking place when Mercury was retrograde, now you're able to take some sort of internal action, releasing something here that's just not working for you anymore. Go after something that you really want. There could be something here connected to money as well, maybe your viewpoint on money, because we just saw that with your second house. We're getting it with your 8th house. Both are in a positive aspect here. And so whatever it is that you've learned and you're going to be expressing might have a positive impact here on your finances. Mercury, because it's in Sagittarius, will be opposite that Gemini energy. So this Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. And so when you think about your home environment, I keep saying home environment, but it's more than just your home environment, it's your daily life. And so your home is certainly a part of this, but any kind of internal growth that you're trying to seek within your daily life, it's going to be opposite anything that you're communicating right now. So when you're thinking about this, you're communicating what you've learned about yourself, maybe what you want to grow and expand about yourself, something along those lines, versus everything else around you in your daily life. And this is where that push-pull comes into play. So it's actually pretty similar energy to that full moon. It's just showing up slightly different with Mercury stationing direct. And then this one here is really interesting. So Mercury will trine Neptune in Pisces, but square Saturn in Pisces. So Neptune and Saturn are both sitting in your house of communication. So this could be siblings, it's not just communication. Communication is kind of the big one. Could be connected to short distance travel too, but this just seems to be more fitting from a communication standpoint, the way that all this energy is flowing together. With Neptune and Pisces, this is you expressing yourself in a way that you want to express yourself. And you've got these ideas on how you want to be perceived by other people, and so you want to communicate to align with the way that you want to be seen. That's that Neptune and Pisces energy. And so when you are expressing this kind of inner you, this whatever you've learned about yourself, that's going to fully line up. There's no extra effort required in order for that to take place. But as far as actually working on that type of communication, and this is where the conflict and challenge comes into play, it's going to be more difficult to actually put some effort and energy into it, because you're more in the let me express myself stage of this entire process. You're not in the let me put the effort in. You're in the I've thought about this, let me communicate it out loud before I put the effort in. And then we do have Mercury sextile Pluto in Aquarius. And so when it comes to what you value, what you want here, it's creating an opportunity for you to let go of anything here that just isn't working for you anymore. I like the way that it's a liberating energy. So any blocks or barriers that you've had so far, this is giving you an opportunity to remove them. And then we have the sun enter your sign on the 21st at 4:21 in the morning Eastern time. I personally love this. I'm in the Northern Hemisphere, and so we'll get more minutes of daylight every day, starting with the solstice. And for you, this is going to impact your first house. So it's all about you, your physical body, anything like that. Because it's affecting you on the outside, It's creating obstacles and challenges to expressing the inner you. There's a square to Mercury in Sagittarius, which I find absolutely fascinating. It's like you can only focus on the outer you or the inner you at a time. Right now, there is no synergy between the two. And then on the 29th, we have Chiron stationed direct. So that happens at 4:13 in the afternoon, Eastern time. And so this is that wound connected to your home environment, could be ancestral in that respect. I like the way that this is playing out because we saw this earlier. The Sagittarius energy is really helping with this wound. And so there is a trine to both the moon in Sagittarius and Mercury in Sagittarius. So when you think about what it is that you love and value about yourself, what do you want to grow and expand about yourself here, it's going to help you heal that wound. Because Chiron stationing direct is like, okay, I've been getting a lot of clarity on this wound, and now what do I need to do to address it? And so there's a lot of this kind of growth and expansion that's really helping you kind of move through this wound and find a way to process and move forward. And then we had a new moon at the beginning of the month, and we have a new moon at the end of the month here. And so we have the new moon in the sign of Capricorn. That is going to happen on the 30th at 5:27 p.m. Eastern time. And so this is going to impact you physically. This is your physical body. It's sitting in your first house. I really love this energy. This is a really great time to kind of set New Year's intentions. And this is probably why most people kind of think about New Year's intentions, because one, new moon's a great time to set intentions, but in the sign of Capricorn, this is your plans, this is your strategy. So what do you want to kind of do and think long term, because that's Capricorn energy, that is your energy. And so showing up here connected to your physical body, this might be a really great time to set intentions as it relates to a health and wellness program that you want to follow, or any other kind of physical changes that you want to make to yourself. I like how this is showing up here. This new moon will create an opportunity for you to really work on the type of communication that you have. So when you think about your physical body, the way that you speak, the words that you use, that's all connected to people's perception of you. And so it's giving you this opportunity to really work on that piece. And there is a square to Chiron in Aries, but it's more of, now it's not really the right time, because your home environment is, and the wound connected to that area of your life, or an ancestral type of wound, that's a little bit different than you working on your physical body or the way that people perceive you. And so it's more of, that's you away from the public versus you out in the public and people seeing you. So it's a square energy. You can find a way to work through it. You just have to put the effort into it. So Capricorn, this is your reading. I hope it resonates. If it did, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Take care.